Hi, third grade friends, Mrs. Dale here. So today I'm going to show you guys how we're going to start creating our Aaron Hansen inspired impressionistic landscapes. The first step is going to be to choose your landscape. So Mrs. Dale has 30 something different landscapes that you can choose from. The one that you choose is the one that you're going to use every single class. So if you look on the back, it's going to have a number on it. So you need to write your number down in your sketchbook. So when we pass these out next week and in the future, you will be able to just know what your number is and I can easily hand it to you. Okay, once you have selected your landscape that you're going to be creating, you're going to draw out the basic shapes of the landscape. So what I mean by that is you're gonna find different lines that you can follow, such as this hill right here, the mountain right back here, mountain here, and you're gonna lightly draw those on your piece of paper to sketch out where they are. You would also do clouds in the sky if you have clouds. Details like these little trees down here, I'm not gonna worry about because those I'm just going to create with either the markers or the watercolor paint, depending on which you decide to do. All right, so to begin drawing, the first thing that you are going to do is clearly write your name on the paper and your teacher and your grade, and then decide what way you want your paper to go. So if you want it to go horizontally or vertically. I'm going to do mine horizontally. And just like I showed you on here, I'm gonna start drawing those lines. So kind of figure out about where it is on the paper. This first hill that kind of slopes down that I showed you is about 3/4 of the way up the page. So I'm just gonna draw it the best I can, trying to get every little bump and mountainy part into that line. One thing you need to make sure that you do is draw really light in case you need to erase. That way you won't have those dark pencil lines left if you do need to erase. So make sure you're drawing really, really, really lightly. Okay, so I've done this first hill and then this part. Now I'm moving on to this. Oh, see, and I need to erase right here because it's going to cross over, but I can erase it fully because I've been drawing lightly. I'm going to draw these mountains back here in the very back, and then I'll be done sketching out where everything is going to fall. All right. Once you get done with this part, it will be time to add your color. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to start adding color to your impressionistic landscapes now. So you have two options. You can use fancy markers or you can use watercolor paint. So I'm going to show you watercolor first and then I'll show you how to use the markers. All right, so when you start with the watercolors, just remember you don't have to use the exact colors that are in the image that you're doing. It can vary a little bit. Like it doesn't have to just all be greens down here where the trees are. You can play with that a little bit just like Aaron Hansen did in hers. So I am going to start with a green. And I'm going to start with my darkest green that I'm going to use first. The one thing I would suggest, or the one thing you need to know, is that if you do different colors in the same area, you have to let them dry before you paint the second color on top. Otherwise, it's just going to bleed together. So I'm going to start with my darker green first. And Remember, they leave their brush strokes, so I'm not just gonna color the whole thing in. I'm just gonna actually kind of do some brush strokes that are kind of long, like these trees are throughout this whole bottom section where the trees are. And I'm just gonna do this green first, and then remember I have to let it dry before I move into my second color. Okay, while I'm letting this part dry, I'm gonna find a different area of the painting to work on. So I might go up and work on my sky next. So I'm gonna use some darker blues at the top, kind of like this, and then go to lighter blues towards the middle. I'm gonna change the direction that my lines are going though, so I'm not gonna make them go up and down like I did my trees. This will kind of add a separation between where the trees and the actual sky are. So each section you can have your lines kind of going in a different direction. I'll put this greenish blue, I think, actually at the top. I'm gonna do kind of longer more kind of wavy, not as straight lines for this part. All right, and then again, I'm going to want this to dry a bit before I add in my next color. So I'll move on to a section of the rock or the mountain, and I'm actually going to make these kind of maybe like orangey and reddish. I'm not going to go for that specific like brownish color that the rocks are in the picture, because remember, you can change the color up. It doesn't have to look exactly like what the color looks like. So I'm going to paint this big rock first, right here. In the front of the rock, it's got kind of like these, it's a little lighter. So I'm going to do, again, I'm switching the direction of my line. I'm going to kind of do a slanted, smaller line like this. And I'll add orange paint into this once this dries. Okay. And then the back part of the rock is a little darker. It's in a shadow. So I'm going to, actually, I think I'm going to do this reddish orange color right here. And I'm going to make it going in a different direction as well. All right, so for the rest of it, you're just going to continue to add layers of paint, waiting until the first layer is dry before you add the second layer. And you can change the colors up and change the direction, the width, the length of the line, the style of line that you're putting down. And you're just going to keep building layers and layers until the whole thing is painted. Okay, now I'm going to show you how you're going to add color to yours if you choose to do the markers. So the markers we're using are going to be a combination of these dual tip markers. So you can see that they have two tips. One's a little skinny tip and one's more of like a paintbrush. We're going to be using the paintbrush style tip that looks like this. It's the thicker one. And then we're also going to be using colored Sharpies as well. So it's going to be similar to how you added the different lines in for when you were using, if you used watercolor, but it's the only difference is we're only going to do one color per different section that we've created with our drawing. So for my bottom section, since it is the trees on my artwork or my image, I'm going to use a green color. And I might use a couple different greens for different sections. Like this part up here is a little more different kinds of trees, where these are more like pine trees. So I might switch up the colors I use in that part. And you are just going to be, just like with the paint, creating lines that go in different directions. These lines are going to be a little bit closer together than the lines you would have done if you were painting, because you're not going to fill another color in. It's just going to be this one color. And notice how with these markers, the dual tip ones, I'm kind of using the side of the marker, not the very tip of it, to get that thicker line. So I'm going to fill in this whole bottom shape where the trees are. Just going to do a little bit right now, because then I'm going to show you what to do in other sections. And then once you get that done, you'll move to a different section. So for the mountains, I've decided this I'm gonna do, because remember, you don't have to stick with the colors exactly. So I'm gonna do green down here, and then like greenish blues through the mountain part, and then blue for the sky. Maybe some gray in there as well. So for that mountain, I think I'm gonna choose the darker side of it. I'm gonna do maybe this dark blue Sharpie right here, because it kind of has a line that goes down and separates it. I'm gonna actually draw that line in. I didn't do that. So this is the side that's shadowed and that side's not. So I'm gonna do lines that kind of travel along with the direction of again, really close together, kind of short. They can overlap a little, and I'm still trying to use the side of my marker, not the very tip of it. And it's okay if your lines kind of sort of change direction a little bit within that shape, because that kind of shows, it kind of makes it look like the face of the rock or the mountain might be changing direction a little bit too. All right, so I got that part done. Now I'm gonna go in and do the front part of that mountain, and I'm gonna switch colors, and it's a lighter blue. So I think I might actually use this one, dual tip. And again, I'm gonna change the direction. So these ones are gonna go kind of more at an angle. All right. Okay, so you're just gonna continue doing that. Each section has a different color, and your line should be going in a different direction. And then that's how you do the marker.